Hello, and thank you for watching this presentation. My name is Bryan Scott, and I'm self-proclaimed a sober home expert. That is because I have a lot of knowledge that can help to turn a regular real estate investment of a rental property into what I call a cash cow for being able to have a monthly cash flow that's absolutely incredible on top of, the normal appreciation for your rental properties. One thing that's very, very important to all of this is the fact that we also create something that is just absolutely wonderful for people. We help them in their recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. And that's what I was able to find in my own personal journey through living in sober homes. And it just so happened that I was wondering really how I could help and be of service. And then, boom, there it was. Why don't I make a sober home resume? And, all about this, it will be shown in the rest of these slides. So thank you very much for your time. Please follow along. It won't take long, but what it can do for you is help you to realize how, like I said, we can help other people and do a great job doing that. And then also realize some great investor returns with owning and operating a sober home. So what is a sober home and how do we convert something? Well, first of all, we're helping others in recovery from alcohol and drugs. We offer a safe place for people to live, alcohol and drug free. Our average month rents per bedroom can be 2 to 3 times the normal rental rates that are in your area, depending on where you're at in the US. And how does it work? Well, the need for sober homes nationwide is a huge growth industry. Alcohol and drug addiction is at an all-time high and continuing to grow. And when you watch this presentation, I'll tell you how it all works. So what is a sober home? Well, sober homes are homes that men and women transition to a normal lifestyle after rehab, a detox center, or they offer a place for someone who is no longer welcome at their home and is working at AA or NA or Smart Recovery or some type of other recovery programs. Sober homes have rules, and these rules include no drinking or drugs allowed on the premises, random testing for alcohol and drugs, nightly curfews and lights out policy, weekly number of AA and NA meetings required to stay at the home, along with Smart Recovery. If you've ever heard of that, it's a great recovery system also. And those attendants are per week. Monitoring of progress with the house manager, the owner of the home, or a consultant, services that my company supplies and I personally perform. Weekly house meetings. And these meetings can include educational components. We have many examples of meetings that are very positive for the environment of a sober home, as well as we keep people in check, find out what's going on in their lives, how we can help, how we can be of service. And all in all, it's just a way for all of us to be able to work together to be able to help each other build a new life in sobriety. And all these rules are listed in the tenant agreement that we supply our clients. If you'd like to see that, more than welcome to see it. So for complete details, please contact us. So here's my story, just to give you some background into my life. I'm a professional businessman, been an entrepreneur for 30 years, been involved with Renatus for the last 11 years, and as a real estate investor, and done a lot of work in business opportunities, put it that way. I was a seminar speaker. I traveled all over the U.S., and I've developed many types of businesses. So when COVID hit, my relationship after 8 years ended, and I was dealing with a personal struggle with alcohol, to put it mildly. And so I decided to try a sober home to keep myself in check while I was going to AA and starting to work on the 12 steps. So that in the rest of this presentation, you're going to see a list of 9 different sober homes that I've stayed in that have various sets of rules, houses, how they're set up, meaning the way they're run, and then most importantly, how to fill the beds and keeping that revenue stream of cash flow coming in. I know how to not only make a sober home work, but how to really help our residents. And that's one of the best things about it is we want to keep recovery as being first in the whole program. So there's more to follow on that. So for now, let's just show some of the cash flow. Oh, and one more thing. Did I say I know how to fill beds? because I'm a networking junkie and I speak the language of addiction. I have no problem with going out to all the rehab centers and making meetings with the people who own the rehabs to let them know about our great sober home. The same thing with outpatient facilities, with detox centers, to going out to AA and NA meetings and smart recovery meetings. If you've never heard of the Phoenix, it's just a sober home. I'm sorry, it's not a sober home. The Phoenix is how would you say, easiest to say, it's a lot of people who are sober who want to do events together. They want to go rock climbing. They want to go on hikes. They want to do this kind of thing. It's almost like a dating thing, but it's not. It's just for people who share the one common ground of being sober and then meeting other people who are like that, because it's always easiest to say sober when you have new friends who are sober too. And so the main reason for all of these various locations that I'm going to show you that I stayed in sober homes is because I was building a basketball hoop installation company and outdoor fun company. And being in Chicago, I learned real quick that this was going to be a great way for me to be able to meet other people in the handyman business who could help me build my basketball hoop and outdoor fun company, while they could also get more leads to build and do more handyman jobs for themselves. So that's why you'll see various homes in different cities, is because I was moving around a lot, establishing new relationships with people, and at the same time staying in sober homes and learning how sober homes work. I just didn't know that I'd be in the sober home business 4 years later. So here we are now with these are the various sober homes that I've stayed in, and we're going to take a look directly at each property and see how their weekly, monthly, and yearly cash flow works, as well as the appreciation of their homes. I'm going to skip around a little bit, by the way, but here's the first house I stayed in Chicago. I only stayed in this home for a very short period of time, but I learned real quick what a cash cow the weekly and monthly rental can be for beds in a sober home. You can look at that number right there. So beginning in August 2020, I stayed at the Raven House in Chicago. It's a location at Newport Street in Cicero in Chicago. $117,000 per year in cash flow, plus the appreciation. So at this house, there were 14 beds at $175 a week. That's $2,450 per week. You times that out per month, and you've got a whopping $9,800 per month in rent at the $117,600 per year in cash flow. And the bonus of all of this is helping others. And then you get, of course, your appreciation for the house, just like you would in any other situation. I also learned something very valuable at this particular first house I was at the number of those 14 gentlemen that stayed at that house also, that at least 60% of them were tradesmen, meaning those were people that worked in a trade. They might have been painters, they might do flooring, they might do windows, all around general handyman. So that was a real plus that I learned about sober homes at that particular point. Number two, well, actually, I'm going to skip right ahead because this is one of the biggest cash flow houses that I stayed in. And I stayed in this one October 22 through March 23 in Oceanside. This was house number 7. You can see pictures of the house there. It's only about a half mile from the beach in Oceanside. There were 13 beds at $900 per month, plus a $200 deposit, and you had to pay per month. So that was a whopping $12,700 a month in cash flow. And that works out to $152,400 per year in cash flow for that particular house. They purchased that house in February 2020 for $715,000, and the value today of that house is over $1.32 million, which is a great profit of $600,000. And you've got a big need for people who want to fill those beds. Great environment at that house. We had a weekly meeting on Wednesday nights where one of the residents of the house would cook dinner for everybody. And then we'd have a meeting out back with a fire pit. And it was just a fantastic AA meeting for all of us to get together and talk about our week and to keep a good synergy between all of us staying at the house. So the number 2 house I stayed in September 2020 through October 20 was in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that house was purchased originally for $351,000 at the end of 2019. And it was currently valued, when I looked it up, at $250,000. which is a nice return. It had 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. 10 guys staying at the house at $175 per week. So some houses you'll notice in the rest of these slides are on a per week basis versus a per month basis, which you can go either way. There's a lot of things that I'll be able to tell you in a private free consultation if you like, to help you to fully understand what we're doing here. And that's about an $84,000 per year rental cash flow, which again, you're helping others to recover first. House number 3 in Cary, North Carolina, I stayed in from November 2020 to February 21st. This is a different type of model. This is a model called an Oxford house. And an Oxford house has a different management style, where it's not just a management style from an individual perspective, but it's a management style from an overall house perspective, where every week when you have a meeting, there is a house manager, but that house manager really kind of keeps everybody in check with their chores. And also, if anybody's ever going to be wanting to move into the house if someone leaves, what happens is we have a house meeting dedicated specifically to interviewing that person to see if they're going to be a good fit for the house. And that's an Oxford house model. 10 guys here at $170 per week. That's $1,700 per week with a $6,800 per month cash flow. Yearly cash flow of $81,600. And again, we're helping others recover first. That house sold originally in 2021 for $350,000. Excuse me. And in the last 2 years, it's brought in a profit of $206,000 in the last 2 years. So here we are at house number 4 I stayed at in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It's another Oxford house, so it was governed by the house in terms of people, when they want to come in, had to be interviewed. This house was on about a 2-acre lot. It was very serene, very nice place for sober living. 12 beds at $150 a pop. That's $1,800 a week for a total of $7,200 per month cash flow. A yearly cash flow of $86,400. And it last sold for $527,000 for a current value of $297. And again, we're helping others recover. And how cool is that? Great profit potential as well as helping others. I don't see a better real estate business model, but maybe you have one. But certainly this one is an excellent way for us to help other people. And now on my way across the country, I'm now in Mesa, Arizona, from May 22 to June 22. And that house last sold for $413,000 in 2023. It was a good profit margin. You can see there about $250,000. 10 guys at $180 per week. That's $1,800 per week, $7,200 per month cash flow, and $86,400 a year in cash flow. With, again, being able to help others. In Dallas, Texas, I stayed at a house from July 22 through August 22. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath with detached garage. Now, detached garages are excellent for sober homes because you can actually pop in either another bathroom, or you can just put a couple more residents in there. Here, we could probably fit 3 more people into that house. So right now, they were at 8 guys. If you were able to use that garage, you could literally go up to 11 at $720 a month. That's $5,760 per month, and a yearly cash flow of close to $70,000. There, you can see there the value is increased and to $263,000. You got to excuse me there for my blunder. But I hope you're enjoying this presentation. So we've got a lot of great things here to show you about a lot of different houses that I've stayed in. And there are more ideas on ways to help others. So let's work together. The first step house, this is an interesting part of the presentation because, the first step house in Carlsbad I first learned about when I came to Oceanside, California. The first step house was a place that offered people an additional level in the sober home business model, a place for people to stay and actually detox. And when they stayed and detoxed at this house, they were able to to get their life kind of back together from coming from, being on a long run with alcohol or drugs. And at the First Step House, it basically runs on a volunteer basis to provide people a place to stay for 10 days to be able to kind of get themselves clear and to find out what their next step is going to be. And that next step could be to go to a sober home. That next step could go to going into a rehabilitation program, a detox, or another program that might be because there's a lot of people that come to this sober this First Step House to be able to, help you to be able to find a sponsor. They sponsor people. They help you to tell you about other programs that are available that you could go into to get some help to be able to get yourself back on track. It's a really, really cool place and a cool business model that helps people. They also deal a lot in the community with fundraising. I know I volunteered at the First Step House with the Ironman Triathlon in Oceanside last April, and I'm going to be doing that again here in another month. And all the people who volunteer under the umbrella of the First Step House, and that gets the funding to the First Step House from the triathlon. So it's a good way to be able to help build credibility and build awareness for what they're doing to help other people in the community as well. More on that a little bit later, but here's basically the First Step House. You can look it up online if you want to read more about it and what they do. But I know all the guys over there and can be of help if you have questions or want to talk to somebody. So these are additional resources and ideas. And here's another First Step House that was actually the business model for the Carlsbad House. This is called Charlie Street. It's up in Costa Mesa, California. And what they have is they have 3 different facilities. They have the Charlie House, and then they have their secondary level of once you go through the 10 days at Charlie House, you can get involved into the next house. So you'd be there up to 6 months, and then another house that transitions you into a little long-term availability, because a lot of people who go through these houses, they tend to want to work in the community and to be more part of the community. And that's a great way for everybody to stay sober. So, this is another idea. I'll keep it short, but if you want to know more information, that's something we can talk about. And then we'll go back to Oceanside, California. This is the 8th house I stayed in up until July of 2023. This house did something that was off the charts in terms of me being able to see a way to be able to create even a larger cash flow. Because out here in California, and it may be wherever you're at and what city you're in, it's an interesting sober home model, because what they actually did was partnered up with a treatment center. The treatment center was overflowing, and they had to get people out of the house, not of their house, but out of the treatment center to go into an outpatient facility. So they needed more beds, and they didn't have them. So they partnered up with the gentleman who owns this house, who I know because I actually stayed there, and they were able to work out a deal with the treatment center. So all of the beds from those people were paid through an insurance company, and now you're looking at rents that are now up to $1,100 to $2,000 a month for a bed. So you're looking at a $12,000 to $15,000 or more per month cash flow. That would change obviously on what beds were filled by the insurance and what beds were filled by private people. That's over $144,000 to $180,000 in yearly cash flow from a sober home. And let me tell you something, great house, nice location, close to the beach, and it was very, very cool, meaning it was a nice place to live. So they bought that house just a year ago in 2023 for $1.16 million, and that current value is $1.56 million, or $400,000 in just 1 year per date of appreciation to the house. And the final house that I stayed in the sober home business is in Vista, California. It's actually a sober home ranch, a 4.6 acre ranch. My chore, and I haven't talked too much about chores, but chores are a big part of living in a sober home. You have to do your chores. And my chore was feeding the pig, Pedro, the goats, the chicken, rooster. I didn't feed the guys, but that's funny that I put that there. Multi-use land. They actually had little pods of single-man houses that you see, these mini houses, where they actually were going to start detoxing also as a service. Sober living. They have in the back, they have a big agricultural business. They rented out a section of that land to somebody who was doing some type of agriculture. I don't know what. It was greenhouses they had set up. And then they have farming, and they're also building a fruit and vegetable stand. So 11 guys at $1,200 per month to $2,000 per month. Again, another $13,200 to $15,000 per month in cash flow, $158,000 plus per year in cash flow, and that's just from the sober home, let alone the revenues they're getting from the agriculture and farming. So that house again has great appreciation of $300,000 per date. And again, you're not seeing those additional revenues, but you're helping others. We're helping others, and we're doing a great thing. So that's where we're basically at in terms of how sober homes work in terms of cash flow. Now let me take a few minutes to just tell you how sober homes work. We basically take a house and we convert it from a single bedroom into a bedroom that might have 4 beds as a bunk bed, which would be the transition bedroom where people would come in, or it would be a 2-man room, or it could be a 1-man room. So each bed has a value of $600 to $1,000 per month. If it was a single room, we charge $2,000. Weekly rates are available to assist some tenants in getting started. We as consultants view the floor plan of the house and give you our expert opinion on what will work best. Garages, like I said, can also be converted to living areas. A starter room could have 2 sets of bunk beds and per bed monthly rent of $600. A standard room, like I said earlier, $800 to $1,200 per room, and then we go on from there. Whatever date the tenant moves in, we have an interview first. The first week or month would be paid upfront with a security deposit. Any broken rules from the tenant agreement, including alcohol or drug use, in the grounds for immediate eviction. These are all parts of the agreement to move in, which I have copies of to show you and to go over. Random testing, breathalyzing, and drug testing is done and always done prior to move-in. And payments are made versus cash, certified check, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, you know, the usual. And tenants attend a weekly meeting at the house and have a daily, weekly chore. All chores are listed and accountability is mandatory. We're just about done here, folks, so bear with me for another thing. Frequently asked questions about sober homes is how do people afford it? Well, people afford it the same way they used to afford their drinking and their drugs. So people also afford it because there's people that still believe in them who are out there and want to see them change, whether it be their family, friends, etc., to help them get down on their feet, because it's easy to get a job once you sober up and get yourself back in line. And that's another thing that we want to do with our sober homes is help people to also find work and to help them to get back on their feet. So where do these residents come from? Again, they come from rehabs, first step houses, detox centers, AA meetings, smart recovery, etc. What about the neighbors? How do they feel? Well, you know, I haven't been in a house that's had any problem with neighbors, and we just go about our business and keep everything quiet. That's why we have our curfew and keep our P's and Q's together and keep the house looking neat and clean, and there are no issues. What about city rules? Well, we find those out by city. That's part of my consulting services and my company's consulting services. And what about police? Again, as long as it falls in the city lines and city rules, there's no problem. How much is a room? Those prices depend, basically on the house and how we set it up. How fast can someone move in? Roughly immediately if there's space available. And we also know other people in the area who have sober homes. And sometimes some of the homes that I knew people, there would be people who had 2 or 3 different houses in an area. Do you drug test and breathalyze someone before they move in? Yes. What happens if someone relapses while living at the house? Well, there's 2 types of models there, immediate eviction, or they can be dealt with on an individual basis. We like to make sure that we help people in this business model. So as long as people aren't screwing up and causing trouble to other residents, we might send them to a detox center and then welcome them back on a contract to make sure that they keep their P's and Q's together. Otherwise, all these things are worked on a step-by-step or a item-by-item basis. So for a complete set of our standard house rules, we're happy to send them to you. Bottom line, it's recovery first at all our properties. What are your questions? Please contact to schedule a consultation. We'll be happy to help you to do that. So for more information on these sober home properties, I look forward to speaking with you, and I thank you for your time. Plans for properties, we want to help people, safe and live in a safe, healthy, and growing experience. With these weekly meetings, we can also have a separate meeting for education, possibly even some type of real estate investor education, business opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. We have real estate investing education courses offered, like I just said. All tenants are available for work if you have work, so we also branch out in the community, like I said before. Many residents also have tradesman skills that can be utilized to renovate existing investment properties, which is awesome. Ideas and creativity are the only valuable commodities to help men and women to stay sober and dream of possibilities again. I think if there's one great thing that sobriety can bring is a chance for change and a chance to be better and to help other people just like we're trying to do here. So it's always recovery first. The rest is all possible. And so that's me. I'm Bryan Scott Kos. And I thank you for your time. There'll be another contact number down for you at the end of this presentation. So thank you so much for your time. Look forward to talking with you, and you have yourself a great day. Bye for now.